another episode of the Millennial Business Podcast. I'm so excited to be joined today by the beautiful Tammy Cannon, who is an absolute Facebook ads expert. She's going to help us to uncover everything that we need to know to do with Facebook ads, lead generation, everything to do with online advertising. So Tammy, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
You're welcome. Cool. So just to begin with, I would love for you to share with the audience a little bit about who you are and how you got to where you are today, because you're doing some pretty impressive stuff and you're helping so many people. So I would love for you to share.
Yeah, thank you for asking. And I just think it's a fun story, just because for your listeners, if they have an idea, you just go out and literally do it. And so about 10 years ago, just about 10 years ago, I had this idea when social media was new. I was like, oh my goodness, I can help the local businesses in my community learn how to use Twitter, and Instagram wasn't even a thing back then when I got started. So that's just literally what I did. And I had this idea. I went out to a local business meeting, and I met the director of economic development in my community and with the city. And so she hired me to start the blog, start the city's Twitter account, the Pinterest account, all the events. And so I really started all the social media here where I live, and it was so much fun. But then it was like I could only grow so much, and I could only help so many businesses. And so after a couple of years renting an office downtown where I live, and I miss it so much. It was in a 100-year-old building, and it was just an amazing little space. I left to go global. And so now my clients range from the UK to Hawaii, and I'm so excited to empower business owners to learn how to grow their own businesses on their own without having to hire an agency or do any of that. So I am having a blast.
I love that. Yeah, I really love that you are teaching people how to do it themselves, because it's so common these days. And I know what it's like, because I also run a digital marketing agency, and I hear about sort of, I guess, horror stories from clients that we bring on of like just how badly people get ripped off, and all of these horrible things that some marketing companies are doing to business owners and people that run their own brand. So I love that you're actually teaching people and empowering them to be able to do it themselves, or to know what to look for if an agency is about to do it for them, sort of the red flags.
Yeah, it's so true, because when I was managing ads, so I managed ads for people, I kind of left social media, started just focusing on the ads because I really loved that piece of kind of the whole social media or online marketing thing. And by the time somebody would come to me and maybe do a consult call or like hire me for an hour to look over their accounts, I could see pretty quickly a few different scenarios. So one would be like they couldn't find their campaigns to even show me behind the scenes of what was going on. So I was like, okay, that's an old ads manager tactic where you run ads on, they would run ads on their own ad account. So me as the ads manager would run it on my own ad account, and then inflate the budget for you so that you can't see what I'm running. You don't know any of the metrics or any of that stuff. And so that was one scenario that really made me so mad about the industry that people were doing that. And then the second thing I saw was, well, a couple more things. The other thing I saw was that people were trying to dabble on their own without really knowing the metrics and the numbers that you need to pay attention to know if your campaigns are working or not. Because when you're running Facebook ads, you're working with the algorithm. And if you're just jumping in brand new blind, you don't realize that you need 50 conversions in 7 days, and you don't really realize that you need to give Facebook the time and the budget to really push out your campaigns. So that was the other scenario. And then the other one that I found was just that people were hiring friends or family or some so-called expert that did not know what they were doing. Maybe they ran a campaign and they were like, oh, I can do this for somebody else. And then they ended up spending $400, $500. And then my clients like were like, what? Where did it go? Or, oh, you spent more than I asked you to spend. So a lot of really sad stories by the time they got to me. But I was so thankful I could then go behind the scenes of some of their ad accounts, the ones who knew how to get there, and see like, oh, this is a mistake. Let's turn this campaign off. Let's fix it and move forward. So that kind of put me on this path of just like empowering people to really take ownership of, in this day and age, there's been no other time to really run marketing and really grow your business like with Facebook ads that we have now. You can generate a lead for $1 to $3 and then make a lot of money on the back end with your email list. So it's been really, really fun for me.
Amazing. Yeah, I think it's very common for, especially where I'm from in Canberra in Australia, there's a lot of the business owners here are sort of more so brick and mortar businesses and the older generation business owners, and they'll just hire their younger niece or nephew or whoever it is, like their daughter or their granddaughter to run their ads just because they're young and they know what they're doing. And I'm like, no, they don't. I'm really sorry. So it's I think it's definitely a lot of learning for business owners as well. You spoke about sort of the key metrics that people need to know that they need to be looking out for when they're in the business manager and looking at the analytics. What are some of those really important key metrics that people and business owners should be looking out for in their Facebook manager?
Yeah, that is a really good question, because once ads are going and the campaign is running, it's kind of like, okay, is it working or isn't working? So the most common thing that I see is that business owners are running traffic campaigns. So basically they're just sending people to their website and hoping that people opt into a lead magnet or listen to a podcast episode and then opt in from there. And that really is not the best way to go about it. To truly understand your metrics, you need to be running conversion campaigns. So you need to know your cost per lead. And so that's what I teach in my programs is like, no, we're not running traffic campaigns. That's kind of a strategy that we use in tandem with conversion campaigns down the road, but that's definitely not where we start. And so you need to know your cost to generate a lead. That is super important. And right now, just across the board with all the industries that I've worked with and managed, it's $3 to $5 is kind of what we say is the typical cost per lead with a lead magnet, like something for free, just give people an easy in, and then all the work is done in email and on the back end of your funnel. So that's kind of number one. Once that is set up and kind of running and going along, you need to, two of that are my favorite are CTR, so the click-through rate on your ads. So when your ad is running in the news feed, you only get, I think it's now shortened to 2 lines of your ad copy that people see when it comes through the news feed. So they have to click these 3 little buttons to see the whole ad copy. If they're doing that and the click-through rate on your entire ad is 3%, you are doing a great job. It means that people are resonating with your ad, they're clicking to read more about it, they're excited to see what this is. That's amazing. Now, the next one after that is CTR on your link. So that means they're clicking out to go and get your lead magnet. They're clicking out to get over to the landing page to opt into your amazing stuff. If that's 1%, you're doing great. If it's low, that means if your CTR is 3%, but your click-through rate on the link is low, it means you need to rewrite your ad copy. They are not resonating with it. You need to go back to the drawing board. So I teach my clients to have at least 2 different versions of ad copy and just kind of see which one does better than the other one. So those are 2 of the most important things that I look at. And then the third one, I would say, well, I guess that would be the fourth one, would be your CPM, which is the cost to reach 1,000 people, should not be above 30. if everything, all things being equal, so if the CTR metrics are in line and your cost per lead is low, but your cost to reach 1,000 people is high, like right now, it's costing me $60 to reach this 1,000 people in this audience that I'm running for myself. However, my CTR metrics are great and my cost per lead is awesome. And the people, I can see their emails coming in. I can even go check them out on social media to see if this is the right crowd that I want to be attracting. And if so, then CPM is not going to matter to me. So that's kind of like the last fourth thing that I look at. And if you know those and you're running conversion campaigns, you're good to go. You'll have all the info that you need.
Amazing. I love that. And you mentioned, so you suggest to your clients to have two versions of ad copy. And a lot of the time, I know a lot of people, they're like, oh yeah, I'll just put one ad up and we'll see how it goes. Why do you suggest having two versions? And should people do even more than two, do you think?
You can do more and test it out. So when you decide that, okay, I'm going to go all in on Facebook ads, it really is a test for those first 30 days. And so having two different versions of ad copy, I put my clients through a 5-part framework. And so in the 5-part framework, that very first step is called the qualifier. And so that one we change up between the two different versions of ad copy, because you want them to know as soon as they see the ad that you're speaking to them. So if you are in like the digital marketing space, and let's say you're selling templates or you want them to opt into some free templates, you would literally in those that first paragraph call them out and say, you're a digital marketer that needs to save time, blah, 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 blah. And then they're like, oh. Or you can reframe it with ad copy number 2 and just say, you know, are you struggling? And struggling is kind of an algorithm word that we try to stay away from, but are you, trying to post on social media more frequently, but you're finding it difficult? Question mark, emoji, raise hand, and then test out those two different versions, because people are going to resonate differently. And I also have my clients create 5 different ad images. So at the end of the day, when they are setting up their campaigns, there are 10 ad creatives that are being tested and going out. And if you don't do the work to get to this point, it's really going to be hard for you to know what's working and what's not working. And I love, right now, I'm testing out a new thing that I have not trusted Facebook with, which is dynamic creative. So I test everything out on my own campaigns first. And so the other day I uploaded, I think 3 different versions of ad copy and 5 images, and you can do it very easily all in one thing. And I'm letting Facebook test it for me rather than me manually doing it myself. We'll see how it goes. I teach my clients how to do it manually because I think you need to know. But then if this goes well with Facebook and they've improved, sometimes their new things aren't great, and if they've improved, then I'll go ahead and teach that throughout. But you've got to have enough ad copy and enough ad images to know whether things are working. And if it's not working and you're not getting those really good cost per lead, the first thing I would do is test out another ad image. That's like the very first place to start, and see if that resonates differently with the audience you're targeting.
Amazing. You mentioned in there you don't like to use the word struggle because it's a algorithm something. What is that? Can you talk a little bit? Because I honestly, a few sort of bigger business coaches that I follow, I get their ads and stuff, and I look at them, and a lot of the time they use the word struggle. So I'm curious about that.
Yeah, so the algorithm will reject your ads if you have like the word you followed by a negative attribute. So you struggle is kind of a negative thing, and Facebook does not want anyone to feel bad about themselves or anything. So it will have like a red flag, and it'll say, I get warnings in different client stuff that I have to go, okay, what word in here is Facebook not liking? I need to figure it out. So I almost never use the word you. And the way that I got around that is in my qualifying section, in my first paragraph, I will turn that into a question. So I'll say something like, people struggle with blah, 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 blah. Does this resonate with you? Question mark. And so I'm kind of getting away from struggle and you together and kind of separating them. So that's kind of a strategy thing. And then the other way I get around it is I put it in an I statement, like, quote, I'm struggling with buttoning up my jeans or whatever it is. I had a few health coaches and I'm like, oh, this is going to be hard to write. So, because Facebook hates weight loss and all of that stuff. And so if you do I statements and question marks, you can pretty much get around negative attributes and just hit it right away in the qualifying statement and you're good to go. But the algorithm knows the words that you're using and also where you're sending people your landing page. It knows the URL that you're sending people to. So if it has, you know, anything in the URL, I had someone have FB in their URL, like for Facebook, and it knew. And once we changed the URL, it was fine. So there's just little things that you have to be aware of. And if you don't know, you just don't know.
Wow, that's so interesting. I love that. Now, I know, I think a lot of the time, the thing that people struggle with is knowing who to target with these ads in terms of the interests, the demographics, all of, like, there's so many options in Facebook, and for a beginner it can be very overwhelming to know who to target. How do you teach your clients to know who to target with their Facebook ads?
You're gonna laugh at this too, because I make them do an entire like thought download, a brain dump on everything that their ideal client reads, listens to, influencers that they're following, magazines, TV shows, YouTube channels, whatever. And I want them to list at least 20 to 30. And then I have them go on the back end, and I teach them how to do this. You go on the back end of Ads Manager, you go into the ad set level and scroll down to detailed targeting. You type in one at a time all of those things and see if they're targetable. Certain people are just not going to be targetable that you think your favorite TV show might not be something that you can target in Facebook ads. So once they go through that process, now they've created a master targeting document. Most people target one audience and then they're like, why didn't this convert, or this is too expensive, and oh, Facebook ads don't work, and they're done. And so, like I said in the beginning, Facebook ads is really all about testing the market for your offers, running several, lead magnet, lead generation campaigns just to see who they are and where they are. And if you don't do that work, you are going to give up. Your costs are going to be expensive, and you're just going to not run ads anymore when they can be super profitable. We just brought in 20K on a $27 offer in the last 6 weeks. So Facebook ads work. Yeah. They're fantastic. You just have to get in there and test and play around.
Yeah, definitely. How many audiences do you teach people to test to begin with? Do you get them to do just one at a time, or multiple at a time, or does it sort of depend on their budget?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when my clients go through my program, it's called Spark, helping them spark their ideas, spark their businesses. When they get into week number 8, it's campaign setup time. And so I teach the way I was taught. I teach it a specific way so that they can set it up properly. So we actually have them set up 10 audiences, 10 different ad sets that they can test. And then again, remember, we have the 10 ads. So each of the 10 audiences has all of those 10 ads. We don't run them all at once, but we do it based on their budget. So my clients decided what their budgets are. Once they're done with my program, they're on their own. If they want to run it for a couple weeks, and I stay with them to monitor, make sure it's all correct, and this is too expensive, turn this off, whatever. It's really fun to see those leads coming through, and then they have the confidence to move forward. But I tell them, let's set up 10, and based on your budget, set them up at $5 a day. And then if you have a $500 budget in 1 month, that means you can test 3 different audiences and go through them. That's $15-ish a day. And then you get to see what's working. So for instance, if we have in our space digital marketing, you might have like an Amy Porterfield audience, a Marie Forleo audience, a digital marketing audience, a podcast audience, maybe on up to like 10 audiences. Well, you can turn 3 of them on and see how they do for 3 to 5 days. And then if Marie Forleo is coming in at, $5, but Amy's 2, then you're going to turn Marie off and we're going to try podcasting. So it's very easy to go in and manage it yourself and figure out what works. If you get through all of those, you go back to your master targeting document and you just duplicate an audience, pop in the new targeting, and you're good to go. So it's really easy. Once you have it all set up and ready to go, it's really easy to figure out how to manage it. And if they're converting at a good price, you can let them run and not worry about it at all. So it's really great.
Amazing. I love that. Thank you for sharing it. Now, I know you have a little bit of a sort of a signature framework that you like to teach people, your 7 steps that you were telling me about just before we started recording. We're already at half an hour and I'm like, I want more information from you. I just wanted to keep going, but could you quickly share with us your 7-step strategy or your signature strategy that you use? And then I have one more question after that as well. But first, let's get with this signature strategy.
Yeah, okay, so this is, we've talked about a little bit of this, but what's really fun with my Spark program and the clients that have gone through, and I keep refining as I see what their questions are or see if they need an extra resource or whatever, but we always start with week number 1 is all about the freebie and the targeting. Those are the 2 things that you need to have the foundation first. So what are you going to offer as a freebie? It's the easiest way to run ads and build your list and then sell them on something on the back end. And I always say that your lead magnet needs to be aligned with your highest level product or program. And so you want them to have a taste of what it is that they're gonna buy into eventually, right? So you need to have it be aligned. And then the targeting, we have to go through that process first as well, figuring out who your ideal client is, all the things they're interested in, and then go do that research and create your master targeting document. Then in week number 2, we have to figure out the pixel and the landing pages. And that's always kind of like, the big thing that everybody gets stuck on is like, where does the pixel go? Because they're used to running a boost post ad or a traffic campaign, and you don't really need to worry so much about that stuff. So I'm very adamant about, we need a landing page and we need a thank you page. They need to be super simple. All of those things need to, and that kind of takes them the longest. It'll take them a couple weeks in some cases if they're really brand new to create the pixel, put it on their landing page and all of that. So we take care of that in week number 2. And then in week number 3, we are talking all about the ad copy. That's kind of like my favorite part of it. I give them a break in week number 3. It's kind of like a skip week so that they can do all that work. And then when we return, it's ad copy week and it's super fun. They have my 5-part framework. They have to write the 2 different versions and turn them in for homework for me to audit. And it's so much fun to see what they come up with, because that has to be aligned with the lead magnet and what they're going to be getting. So super important there. Once we're done with that, we move into week number 5 is ad image week. So we have an in-house graphic designer that will design. She's amazing. She designs professional images for them, but I have them create their own so that they have a grouping that they get to use and test against each other. And they're always surprised, like, well, it doesn't have, my brand, or it doesn't have my logo, or it doesn't have, and so, but like, we know it works. And so you create what you think is going to work, and you're going to be surprised what's going to take off and what isn't. But having those images is so important. Then the following week, we have the email welcome series. This was something that when I was managing clients, they were missing. I was bringing in the leads for them, but they sat there in their email list, and they didn't email them every week. They didn't know what to say. And I realized that this was a problem. So I started adding that into my management program with them, that we would write it and take care of it, because you can't just let them on the list and they're going to forget about you. They get emails all the time. They're downloading all sorts of things. You have got to stay top of mind. So I actually have written 5 emails for them, and it goes out within 7 days. And so all they have to do is copy, paste, enter in their own details, their own personality, and they're good to go. Once they get all of that back end stuff done, and this is a lot of what people that may be watching, they're not doing all of these things, and so they're like, Facebook ads don't work. So by the time they get all done with that, then in it's week 8, but it's like step number 6, we are setting up the campaign, and they go through a long form process watching me create a campaign from scratch, the custom audiences, the custom conversions, making sure the pixel's firing. I opt in so that I make sure I get their lead magnet and all of their emails following up before it runs, so that we know that everything is perfect. There's no wasting money, like we're good to go. So they learn that one. And then once that is done, we turn it on together, and we have step number 7 is the metrics. And so once the leads start coming in, I'm actually on the back end of their ads manager. And so I'm able to see stuff happening. I'm looking at the metrics, looking at everything. If I see anything, I'll do a Loom video for them and say, hey, I think this and this is why, this is what you should do. And so we have a Slack community where we communicate one-to-one every day. So it's really, really fun for them to just see them come through and be so excited about the leads. And then when they're through with the program, they are able then to run extra lead generation campaigns, like, oh, I have an idea for a different thing. And they're easily able to create their own campaigns and get going. So it's freebie and targeting, then it's pixels and landing pages, ad copy, ad images, email welcome series, huge one. It's setting up the Facebook campaign properly like agencies do so that everything's working, and then it's understanding the metrics, and you've graduated, you're good to go.
Amazing. And I feel like it would be so exciting for people when they finally get to that stage and they're finished and they're like, oh my God, it's working.
It's so fun to see the chatter. I have a group channel inside of Slack of like, there's another one, and here comes another one. And one of my clients was like, I feel like I'm having a baby. This is crazy, just for the first time. So it's just really fun to see it all like happen. So it's amazing.
Yeah. I love that. Now I have one last question. It is a little bit of a selfish question, but I feel like it can be helpful for the audience as well. If you've gone through your program, for example, and you're at a point where, okay, you're running your ads, they're working, and now you want to outsource it to somebody else purely because it's not what lights you up, and you want to be spending your time on your actual area of genius.
Your magic,
that's pretty
yeah.
much where I'm at. That's pretty much where I'm at right now. Like, I'm ready to hire somebody to take over for me. And my thing is, I've been burnt in the past by hiring a Facebook ads manager that said he could do all these amazing things and blah, blah, blah. And he was talking the talk and walking the walk, I guess. And then it was an absolutely epic fail. And I'm a little bit scarred from that, I won't lie.
Yes.
How do we know, like, if we're ready to outsource, what sort of questions can we ask? Like, how do we know if somebody actually knows what they're talking about when it comes to running Facebook ads?
Yeah, that is such a great question. I think that when you are ready to outsource, it is really 100% okay. And I would ask, get on a Zoom like this and have them walk you through a campaign that they have run recently, whether it's their own or for a client. Like, it really doesn't matter. And if they're going through metrics, kind of like what I shared with you, and they're acting like they kind of know the strategy, and they can walk you through, and you can see their cost per lead. Any ads manager should be willing to do that. If they're not, that's also okay. You just ask them those questions of like, what type of campaign would you recommend for me? If they say traffic or post engagement, that's kind of going to be a little bit of a red flag. It might mean that they're boosting posts and just running traffic campaigns. If they don't have an ad copy sort of strategy, I would be, a little bit leery of that. They don't have a process that they are walking you through, then I would shy away from those people. So when I get on calls, like I said, I still manage I'll do a build out where I do the entire process that I just explained, rather than walk them through it for those that want to learn. My team and I will actually build it in about 2 weeks for them and install the emails and everything, usually in Kajabi, and we go through that whole process. But I let them know, I send them a detailed document, and we get on the phone and they know exactly what they're getting at the end of the whole thing. And sometimes I'll do a Loom video just because I really want them to know at the end of it, you're going to have a campaign that looks just like this. And I might walk them through a previous client's, I'll take them from the ad to the landing page. I'll opt in on the video. I'll go in the back end of the email so that they can see, oh, okay, that makes sense. It clicks for them. If somebody is not able to do that, or they can't describe to you a cost per lead on some recent campaigns or what it should be, if they don't know metrics and like landing page conversion rates and the CTR that I was explaining earlier, then it definitely is a red flag for sure. So hopefully that helps anybody out there to avoid those quote unquote experts.
So it is actually so helpful, and I feel I'm literally interviewing my first candidate this afternoon. So I was like, the universe just giving me exactly what, because I was Googling this morning, like how to know if someone is good at running Facebook ads, if you're about to hire someone. So that was all very helpful information. Guys, if you didn't write down those key metrics that Tammy told us, I was frantically writing as you were talking about them. So guys, if you didn't, go back, listen to this again, write down those key metrics if you're ready to outsource to somebody else. If you're not ready to outsource, still write them down because you need to know them for yourself when you're running your own campaigns. Now, Tammy, if somebody wants to find out more about your program and potentially go through it with you, how can they find you online?
The best place to go is my Instagram account. So I'm at the multi-passionatepreneur. That's how we met. And I just love hanging out over there. It's like my favorite thing. And anything that I'm doing that on a daily basis over there. From there, you can opt in and download a freebie. That's just kind of the place that I'm hanging out. It's like my, I guess I could call it like my happy hour is on Instagram. So I invite everybody to come hang out with me over there. It's just so much fun. And anything that I'm doing, whether it's programs or free trainings, new trainings, whatever, I'm announcing it pretty much on Instagram first.
Amazing. Cool. Well, guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, please take a screenshot of it and put it on your Instagram stories and tag myself and Tammy. Let us know what was your favorite part or your biggest takeaway. I know I definitely wrote a lot of notes. So thank you, Tammy, for joining me on the show today.